Have our test tomorrow. So the first thing I do want you to remember is that when you take a test for me, you can get your review signed for 5 bonus points. So either at the top or at the bottom, somewhere where you have space on the side. Let's draw a line so you can get a parent signature. Remember, this needs to be completed and signed for you to get those 5 bonus points. Okay? So this first section is vocabulary. Remember, you do have a lot of this information on your formula chart. So the ones on the formula chart here, 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 and here, that's 4 of your vocabulary pieces. Do not be afraid to look at your formula chart. Which one of these is our slope formula? Slope formula. The slope formula is C. Very nice. What about, that was number 2. So what is slope exactly? The ratio. The change in y over the change in x. Very nice. What's our x-intercept? Is that our x number or our y number? X-intercept. X-intercept is going to be the x number. Okay, so D. So the y-intercept is the y number. So we're going to put G there. Slope-intercept form, again, that's on your formula chart. A. Point slope form on your formula chart, and standard form. Number 8 is talking about a table. Which equation could be used to represent this? You can do a couple of different things. You can find the slope and then do point slope and then go to slope-intercept. Or we talked about our shortcut. You can use Desmos, or if you're using your yellow calculator, 413. I know that you know how to find slope from a table. I know you understand point slope and that conversion. We've done a lot of that. So if you want to use this shortcut, you can. So after doing that in Desmos, now be careful. Some of you on your quiz, you wrote your equation very nicely on your paper and you circled the wrong one. Which one do we want? Because there's a positive and a negative one. Negative 1. So again, pay attention to the signs. If we are going to graph number 9, we can do a couple of things. You can change this to y equals. If you're going to change it to y equals, then you're going to move your x. There's a lot of ways to do this. Remember, we talked about if you like this way. But if you're going to divide, you have to divide everything by that negative 5. Y equals 3. A negative and a negative is a positive. And you could put that in Desmos to see what it looked like. That is one method. We also talked about your x and y intercepts. So if we cover up our y, then we can see that our x is 5. So our x-intercept, aka our 0, is 5. We could do that. We could also then cover up our x's to find our y's. So our y is going to be negative 3. It doesn't matter which method you use. You're going to get the same picture. So if I'm going to start at, I forgot my negative when I wrote it the first time. Negative 3, signs are important. You can then count rise over run, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look, you can also see that's my x-intercept as well. Okay, remember when you graph in the computer, you cannot graph fractions. What is the rate of change? Oh, what does that word mean? That means your m, or your slope. So you can do a couple of things. We said if it's in standard form, you can take a and change the sign and then divide by b. So remember, a is in front of x, b is in front of y, c is going to be that number that's by itself. Remember also, that's on your formula chart if you don't remember what a, b, and c are. So if my a is 4, I need to change the sign. My b is a negative 2. Remember, the sign in front of it goes with it. So my slope here is 2. If you do not like that method, again, you can move your x just like we did before. If you divide, though, you have to remember to divide by that -2. So y equals -4 divided by -2 is a +2. 8 divided by -2 is -4. So you have to realize this is M and B. So you have two options there. So on this one, slope-intercept form, if you don't remember what that looks like, y equals mx plus b. So you have a table here. Again, you can do Desmos. You could find change in y over change in x. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Again, that shortcut is going to be your Desmos or in your yellow calculator, 413, because you've shown me we've done several, lots and lots of days of finding slope, plugging it in, and all of that. So you choose your method. When we did this, we got -2/3. That's a very ugly decimal. Remember, you can change it. And our B was what? 18. So you can see that in Desmos or the yellow calculator. Sometimes we need to write from a word problem. Make sure that you're reading carefully. So bike shop rents mountain bikes. One time, $10.50 feet. What does one time mean? Is that your M or your B? That's our B. One time. That's your beginning. Plus, so I'm going to put a plus here. 450. Oh, there's that word per. What does per mean? Per means multiply or x. And notice it tells us x is hours. So y is our total. Y equals, and you can just write it in the order you see it, or you can flip it around. If I'm reading this, right, my B, I'm just going straight across 1050, and then I had plus 4.50x. You can write it like that. If you wanted to flip it around and say 450x plus 1050, that's fine too. Okay? Either way, but make sure you pay attention to your variables. Which equation is represented by this graph? Tell me everything you know about this graph on number 13. What's the first thing you notice? It's going up. What does that mean? Is that a positive B? Is that a positive slope? This is a positive slope. And I want you to look right here. Slope, 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 right? When we have point slope form, y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, right? Our m is always in front of the parentheses. What can we eliminate right here? If we know we have a positive slope, we can get rid of B and we can get rid of C. Now, you have a couple of options here. You can distribute 2x plus 4. This is going to be 2x minus 4. So which one is it? What's our B here? Positive 4. So you can do that, or your second option is once you eliminate those, you can graph these two in Desmos. Just type it in exactly like it says because they are y equals, and see which picture matches. Make sure you read carefully on this one. Let's start with our y-intercept of -3 here. Okay, see if we can eliminate anything. Look at A. Does that have a y-intercept at -3? Yes. Okay, so that's a possibility. What about B? Yes, that's a possibility. What about C? No, that -3, what is that? It's not a y-intercept. What is that called? That's a 0 or an x-intercept. So we do not want to choose that. What about D? No. So now we need to look at our slope. 3/5. Is that a positive or a negative slope? That is a positive. Is our graph going to go up or down? Up. So A or B, which one's going up? B. Very nice. So use those clues and what you're seeing to help you. You could also write your equation if you felt like you wanted to do that. 3/5x minus 3. You could put that into Desmos and see which picture matches. Read carefully on number 15. What does this word 0 mean? X-intercept. Okay, this is a gimme question. Where does it cross the x-axis? What number? 6. All I need here is the number. Just 6. Rate of change. Find the rate of change. What does that word mean? It's all about that vocabulary. Slope. So you have a couple of things you can do here. Could we put this in Desmos or 413? We could also do change in y over change in x. You could do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Pick a method that you like. So if we do y over x, think about this. How do we go from 10 to 5, or 15 to 5, excuse me? Minus 10, make sure you have a sign there. How do we go from 0 to 3? Plus 3. Okay, so be very careful. Is it 3 over negative 10 or negative 10 over 3? It is negative 10 over 3 because, again, y over x. A handful of people are still flipping that. Be careful. So let's look at this sentence. The altitude, is it going up or down? It is going down. It decreases. This is where it gets tricky. How do we know it's decreasing? Because of this negative. It is decreasing by how much? What are we going to put in this space? We know it's either 10 over 3 or negative 10 over 3. Positive, because the decrease tells us the negative. So be very careful there. If it was increasing, it wouldn't matter, right? But that sign tells us decreases. We don't want to say it's decreasing by a negative 10 over 3 because now we have two negatives. Here is number... So this is number 8 in Desmos, and you can see after we've put everything in, there is our equation. This is number 11. So again, tables, but we got a decimal right here. And if you put that in, if you put enough repeating numbers and you click your little fraction button, it will change it to a fraction for you. The graph shows the number of liters of tea in a drink dispenser at a restaurant based on the number of minutes since the restaurant opened. Complete the statement that describes, there's that word again, rate of change. What does that mean? Slope. Only now they're giving us a graph. What do you notice about the graph? It's negative. So are we going to put that the T level is increasing or decreasing? It is decreasing. Now, be careful when you find this. I'm going to zoom in on this graph for you. What do you notice? Is this counting by ones? No, you need to very much pay attention to your scale. It's counting by threes. So we do have a nice pretty point at 24, 0, 24, and we have a pretty point at 12, 21. If you feel comfortable labeling your points, you could do change in y over change in x like we did before. Or we can also do rise over run, which we have looked at as well. So if I'm going to do rise over run, I'm going down, but this is not down 1. How many is this? 24 to 21. How many is that? Down how many? 3. And then again, our scale is by 3. So this is 3, 6, 9, 12. Rise was negative 3. Run was 12. When we put that in our calculator, it is going to simplify for us to what? 1 over 4. Notice that 4 is a choice there. They're thinking you're going to flip your x and your y, so be careful on your slope there. Also, 24 is a choice, but 24 was our y-intercept, so make sure you know your vocabulary. Another table, it's talking about minutes since it began raining and the inches of water in the dog bowl. Here's your key word. Rate of change is slope. So again, you've got several options, just like we looked at before. Change in y over change in x. You can use Desmos. You can use 413. You can do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. I'm going to do change in y over change in x. And I'm not going to worry about that decimal there. How do we go from 6 to 7? Plus 1. How do I go from 8 to 10? Plus 2. So is it 1 over 2 or 2 over 1? This is my y and this is my x always. So my y is changed by 1 and my x is changed by 2. So which one says that? D. Notice letter C is 2, so if you flip it the wrong way, that's an option, so be very cautious. This is a review, domain and range. Is range X or is range Y? Range is Y. So remember, when we have a vertical table, X is always on the left and Y is always on the right. So I'm actually going to circle this part. That is the piece I'm looking at if I'm looking at range. What can I automatically eliminate if I know that is the piece I need to focus on? A and B are going to go away. Now, these are individual listed pieces, so is it going to be C or is it going to be D? It's going to be C. These are individual pieces, so we're going to list them out, so it is C. It would be D if we had a graph with a line connecting the dots. That is continuous. This is a table, just individual parts. Number 20, there was a typo on your paper. It said -4, and I asked you yesterday to change it to a -2. So that was my fault. You could still probably figure it out. What was our strategy here? If we want to see how this changed, we have these two equations. Can we put these in Desmos and see what happens? Especially if you don't remember the rules. So go to your Desmos. Let's type both of those in. So on 20, we graphed this. We said G is, so look at the first two, is F steeper than G? F was our red. G was our purple. So yes, it was when you look at that picture. So it can't be this one, right? Only one can be steeper than the other. It says F was translated down to or up to. What did it do? We said it went down to. And the y-intercept of G is 2 down or it is 2 up? It is 2 down. So make sure you're reading really carefully there. And that picture is on the next part of the video. We also talked about writing equations for that line of best fit. So this is going to be a y equals mx plus b. That correlation coefficient is r. If you don't know that the correlation coefficient is r, make sure you pay attention to that. And then is it strong or is it weak? And we said we had a number line from -1 to +1, and we said if it's close to a negative or a +1, it is strong because those dots are really close to our line, and if it's closer to 0, it's weak. So you're going to need to, there is no other way to do this. You're going to need to use Desmos, or you're going to need to do 413 to get this equation and to get this R value. So we got -1.23x plus 7.02. And that's probably going to be multiple choice, so make sure you pay attention to your signs. -0.98, so we know it's negative. Is that strong or is that weak? Is that closer to -1 or 0? -1, so this is strong. And we could even see on our picture there that those dots were pretty close to the line. Causation, this is our last one. Remember, this is cause and effect. And what do you need to pay attention to the word here? The not. So which one is not making sense? C. Students with large feet have better grades. No, I don't think so. Texting and driving and car accidents, yes, one does cause the other. The more cigarettes you smoke, the higher your chance of lung cancer. Yes, there are lots of studies on that. And D, the more you exercise, the more calories you burn. So those 3 are true. But no, sorry, people with large feet, that doesn't mean you're going to have better grades. Study, make sure you ask questions if you have any. Good luck on your test. So this is number 20. We needed to graph both of those. These are the 2 from our paper. Now, sometimes we struggle to see the individual things that are happening, so I went ahead and I broke them into 2 pieces with the green and the purple. So how do we go from red? This is our parent function, our original. And how did we go to green? Let's start there. From red to green, what did it do? It shifted down 2. So we can look for that. And then If we want to know what this 2/3 does, from the red to the purple, is it steeper or is it less steep? The red to the purple. It is steeper. Really? Is it above or below? That's my question. The red and the purple. The purple is less steep. So we're looking for our answers that say less steep and down 2. So for 21, we put that table in. And again, the nice thing about Desmos, you can see those dots, and then you hit your little button for your regression. When you write this equation, you can just go 2 decimal places. That's fine. So we can write on our paper y equals negative 1.23. Don't forget the x. Call it 7.02, or if you just wrote 7, that's fine. And the other number we need is the r. The r is negative 0.98. Remember, this negative is your strength, or I'm sorry, your direction, and then the 98 is our strength.